About to get it started with these two. Episode number 3 of the podcast. 2 special guests, obviously familiar face in Mr. E.O. Williams in the back. New face making her first appearance. Okay, so
new face, but you won't forget it.
She's talking degrees. Let's see if she bottles it on the podcast or not. Eli don't give a shit, he's still flexing in the back, bro. Yes, floating.
Trust me, you heard Rich the Kid. When you get that check.
People, what's going on? Episode number 3 on the podcast. Today we have a special guest making her first appearance. Appearance. Who have we got? Introduce yourself.
Celi. Hi.
Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from?
Well, it's a lot of questions. I'm Celi. What else do you want me to say? I don't know.
Cool, you know, fuck it. Eli.
Yeah, you didn't do instructions for you guys.
Returning on the podcast again, Mr. E.O. Willie. How you going, Eli? How is it going, Eli?
We're here. Get ready to chop it up.
Good. So here we are. I thought this would be the perfect time to bring on a female for the first time onto the podcast, following on from last week's conversation. Obviously, we were focusing a lot on Instagram, girls getting surgery. It was a very, very interesting one. So Celi's actually watched the previous podcast, so she'll be able to speak from a woman's perspective more on a lot of the issues that we raised in the last one, and go over that a bit more. So just on that subject of the previous podcast, what were your thoughts on it, and what do you think maybe we missed? Because obviously it's 4 guys talking. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that we missed that you probably could chime in on and give your take as a female.
I think, like kind of what we were talking about before. I just feel like when it's like a lot of guys talking about it, I could see how it's not necessarily my point of view.
Talking about what? Sorry, just so.
So what they were talking about in the podcast was basically like females or just people comparing themselves on Instagram to other people, but then also as well kind of just like surgery and like unrealistic bodies and just like females who like put like basically good looking females that put pictures of themselves, sort of that kind of like realm of topic. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on females, more so with their appearance and like the way that they look. Whether, even though like people like to say, oh, like it's not all about your looks, but females do feel that pressure a lot. Like no matter what you say, they're gonna feel that pressure. And I think it's a difficult one because obviously you've got like some people who are like, oh, against surgery and saying that like it's never like you should be natural and you shouldn't be like this and you shouldn't be like that and oh that's fake and all of this stuff. But then at the same time, the same people who have had that stuff are like also like glorified and like loads of people want to look like them or like all when you hear about, you know, like Kardashians and all of that stuff or even just like, it's funny because I feel like it's kind of like I was saying before, it's like an unspoken truth. Like if you ask someone directly about it, they'll be like, oh no, yeah, but plastic surgery, oh, like I wouldn't do that and all of this stuff. But it's the same person that follows the girl who has plastic surgery and buys her stuff and wants to look like her and then will go to the gym because they want a smaller waist and all of this stuff. Or so it's a very complex realm.
Do you think that females who have had surgery should be basically like full disclosure and tell people that look, this is what I've had done?
I mean, I don't think people should or shouldn't do anything. I just feel like, you know, some people, it's difficult because again, like you can't force someone to reveal something about themselves. It's like me going to someone and saying, okay, you're allowed to change your surname, but only if you tell everyone that you've changed your surname. Like, you can't really tell someone to do that, but at the same time, like, all these girls that put pictures up, like, even me, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, sometimes I'll see girls on Instagram and I'm like, how? Like, and it does, like, it's super easy, like, no matter what age you are, how confident you are, it's so easy to just, like, go on there and see all of these, like, women. Some women, like, fair enough, like, some women are just naturally beautiful. Other women are obviously have had surgery. Other women have had such good surgery that you wouldn't even be able to tell that they've had surgery. Like, you would literally never know. So, and even like how you guys were saying in the podcast, like, people put on Instagram only what you want them to see, only like the best, like, sides of them. Like, even me, like, I know, like, my angles. Like, you could take pictures of me, and if you hit me from a certain angle, it's like, oh my gosh, wow. But if you hit me from another angle, it's like, oh, like, but that's just people. Like, you can't run away from that. So, yeah, I guess it's about being aware of the illusions of Instagram. I think that's really important.
Cool. One thing that I wanted to cover this episode as well, sort of just, it was good to go back and revisit the surgery topic with a female and get their perspective on it. But I wanted to sort of talk about something different today, which is online business as a whole. And I think, as I was saying, I done an Insta snap earlier on, just talking about how people are not utilising online, what the internet has to offer to the best of their abilities. I think in the modern day, there's so many ways to make money that were not available to our ancestors previously, which I sort of said in my snap. And I think one of them obviously is people taking photos on Instagram. And like Brandon did say in the podcast, credit to him, yeah, you got to respect the hustle. And I think a lot more people do need to start looking at social media as a way of possibly generating revenue for themselves and their family and changing their life. Because you could sell a product to somebody on the other side of the world now, like I said in the snap. Whereas before, let's say your ancestors, they could only literally sell to people who are in whatever, a mile radius, or they have to fucking jump on horseback and come over and this, that and the next. So I think the realm of sort of technology and the internet age is it's ridiculous with the possibilities in terms of what you can do. And I think that needs to be utilised a lot more. Like, what are your thoughts on just that space? And would you say that you're guilty of not utilising it as well, yourself, Eli?
Yeah, I think in this day and age, I can't really think of many businesses, if not any business, that shouldn't have an online presence. I mean, at all. I mean, there has to be, in this day and age, if you haven't got an online presence, it is difficult. So, I don't know, like, so say like at work, right? So, like, we've got the commercial team, we've got people that are saying, oh yeah, I want to buy a property, or like I want to rent a commercial premises. And the question that the guys will ask them is how, like, just to qualify them, like, oh, so how are you going to generate business? One of the worst things that they can hear is passing trade. You know, people walking past the shop and just walking in on the whim, you know. I think for like any investor, if you was going to invest, I don't know, a decent amount of money in a business, and you say, look, like, we're going to have a storefront, and they're saying, okay, cool, how are you going to get people to the store? And you're saying, well, if you get it on a busy road and we get people to walk into the store, it's not really going to be that. But I think more investors, as we can see with the way that the world is going, if you've got 2 million subscribers, it doesn't matter what business that you've got, like, they're going to pay you for whatever product that you've got. Like, you've got eyeballs that are going to be there. So you could literally just walk into an office and say, look, I want to promote your company. Pay me this much, and I can guarantee you, because the last year, every post that I do, I get 20,000 likes easily. You know, I've got 2 million people or whatever. Like, I've got 100,000 people that have subscribed to me personally. No fake accounts. You go into the meeting demanding it. So that's the way that businesses should be. You know, some people just go to, it's just like anything, right? Like, why do you wear Nike? Because like they spend the most on branding every year. Like, are the clothes any better?
Fine, but saying this, yeah, I do need to pick a bone with you a little bit, because you're all about the whole man behind the camera, Al Heyman sort of movement. Like, you don't want people to see you, yeah? Why is that? I've never got it, because I think, look, obscurity, yeah, is, so Al Heyman, he's a boxing promoter, yeah? And he basically, there's never been one interview of him online, ever. He's Floyd Mayweather's boxing promoter. He promotes a shitload of like elite level athletes, yeah? And he's never given one interview on camera. Like, you don't see anything of him, but everybody says, oh, Al Heyman's fucking amazing at his job and things like that. And Eli always talks about, oh, I want to be Al Heyman. I'm the Al Heyman. I don't want people to really see me too much. Obviously, you're doing the podcast now, but like you said, you took yourself off Instagram. You're not really about putting yourself out there too much. Why is that? Like, what is your reasoning behind that? If you know the power of social media in the world today.
I mean, that's a funny one, but look.
What do you? I'm not gonna let you slide on that one, man.
No, like it's not a case of. It depends on. Look, for me, like if I was looking at me, like I said to you before, like I just like to be creative on it. So I'd rather like take the pic, record the video, design that, and then like the best way that I put it is, if I was in the music industry, I'd be like a ghostwriter, you know. So the way that I would look at it is that I can still reap the rewards of actually making that song, but I can still go to the Tesco's and, you know, and buy some milk. You know what I mean?
Is that a problem for you then? Let's say in the future, if you were to blow up as the actual rapper yourself, is that something that you look at and you don't want? Like that scenario?
Really, like for me, like the whole fame thing, like the fortune, yes, of course, you want to make as much money, but for me, I mean, I could be saying this now and then all of a sudden, you know, I just have a change of heart with it. But at this moment in time, I'd rather just say, look, okay, cool, if you want to do that, I'm happy to help you. I can definitely add some creative influence to whatever that you're doing. Pay me. But in terms of me getting any, like, I'm not really too interested in, like, putting my face out there. I'd rather let you shine. And if you are happy dealing with whether, like, being, like the fame side of it and the celebrity of it, then that's on you. Of course, like, that's fine. Like, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. I'm happy to create that. Like, I'm not really going to take away from it. Because also as well, like, what a lot of people... especially people that are like successful, famous celebrity as well, is that they may find themselves that they may clash. So if you're the creative like person and then you've got like a cameraman, but your camera, best way to do it is a music band. You got the lead singer, but the guy that plays the drum also wants to be like the main guy in the band. Yeah, it's gonna clash eventually, and they're gonna split. Like let the lead singer be the lead singer, and he is the face of the group. You know, and then everyone else can just play their role. Everyone's getting, and this is me from my point of view. Everyone's getting paid. Okay, he may even be getting paid more than you, but he takes the brunt of it. You know, so if I was to say Coldplay. Everybody knows the lead singer of Coldplay off head, like you can walk past everyone, but does everyone really know how the drummer looks like? Yeah, I don't know. Still, exactly.
However, yeah, I don't know Coldplay at all, man. I listen to R&B,
I do.
hip hop. Good for you.
Yeah, like so, or you could say, I mean, it's just like that, isn't it? Like so.
What? So for you, it's more about literally being like you want to be involved in it. Like you want to be involved in somebody who's blown up their page on social media. However, you don't want to actually be the face of it.
Yeah, and I don't want to clash with them.
Okay, why is that important though?
Because it's just dynamic, isn't it? I think it's more successful if everyone just knows their role and just play. It's just like any team. It's like a football team. Look, there's Messi and there's the rest. You know, from Barcelona. Look, we all play for Messi, right? Yeah, you are the main guy. If it's going to be a shot, if it's going to be a free kick, you are the guy that's going to take it.
And that's just your preference, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you go and take it. I'm happy to. I'm still happy to win the medal at the end of the season. But yeah, like you can go and take like your stripes.
Eli's the Kante of my social media still. The dark horse. What were you gonna say as well?
No, I was just gonna say like, I just think that's the way you like to like express yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just everyone has their own little like things that they like to do, and I think that's just what you like to do. Just from what I've seen of you, I feel like, you know how like some people say, oh, well, not some people, like you can have like singing and performing, like that's an art in itself, but then also all of like the backstage work or designing the outfits, or someone who puts the clothes together or makes an outfit or takes pictures, stuff like that, that's like their art for themselves.
What do you think on the space as well, like making money online, that sort of lifestyle, and the fact that obviously it wasn't even possible before?
I feel like people don't take advantage of it enough, like myself included, like despite what I'm trying to do now. Like, I think people are taking more advantage of it now, and in the future it'll be more like the norm. But I feel like there's still sort of, I think the younger generations, as in like the people who are growing up now, they'll take more advantage of it. But I think there's still a lot of people in like the workplace and older people who don't really understand it, or they don't really see the value in it, or they only view the negative parts of it. So it will slowly but surely start to develop more. And I think as well, like, it takes a lot of courage to do that. Like, you could say, oh, it's so easy, it's at your fingertips, it's free. It's completely true, like, I'm not knocking that. But just from even me trying to do stuff, like, it's not you can just like whip out a camera one day and be like, cool, this is my product, buy it from me, like, and everyone's gonna be like, wow, yeah, let's buy it. Like, there's so many other things you have to look into. Like, you start noticing things, like even about how you talk in front of a camera, or just how you talk in general, or like all these other little things, like putting yourself out there, like on the internet. That's a thing in itself. Then your communication out there on the internet, that's another thing. Then your business strategy on the internet, that's another thing. Then all of like buying a camera, where are you going to film it, the lighting, how are you going to film it, the editing, like, it's, well, I guess you can argue that that's like with anything in life, because you can't just be like, I'm going to be a trader, let me just get on my laptop, or you can't just be like, I'm going to be a personal trainer, or anything like that. Like, everything comes with its, you know, depth and skills. And
with that being said, yeah, what do you think are some tips? Obviously you're not necessarily posting every day yourself at the moment, but it's something that you're sort of aspiring to do in the future, myself included. But what would you say are some tips to people out there who do have a message and want to share it, but are just afraid of sort of, putting themselves out there? If you could give one tip, what would it be to somebody who wants to sort of get more active on social media?
Literally, it would just be fuck it. Like, just that phrase, saying that to yourself, because I still struggle with it now, but every time, like, if I've gone to hesitate, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Like, sometimes you're just gonna have to just be like, just press the button and just be like, cool. It might not be necessarily like the best thing you ever put out, it might be the worst thing, you might get hate from it, you might get like, it's just, it's such a funny,
people are just worried about like the 4 or 5 friends or people around them.
That's so
and
true.
Their opinion. Like, we're talking about like maximum 10 people in their life that they're gonna post something, even though there's billions of other people out there. And even on the grand scheme of things, they don't really necessarily even care about you or even your message, but you're more concerned about family and just maybe a close few friends and what they're gonna think. And that may stop a few people, which is not knocking anybody. Everyone goes through it. Like, literally, if you're starting out as well, you may be literally, before you post something, thinking about just this one person, whoever they are. What are they gonna think of this? Literally, you may even stop yourself from posting it just because of this one person.
Or even, I think as well, like, something that really helps me is like, all of these things that you think you could do or might do, and you just keep in your head and you don't end up doing them, like your life is just like ticking by, and like you don't even realize this. Like I still need to remind myself of this like every day. Like imagine when you're like 80 and you have like grandchildren, or like you're showing pictures of like your younger days to like your family, or you're telling a story to someone. Like what do you want to say that you did? Like this is like your life, like, and every day is just going, like you're never going to get today again. Like this actual whole experience is never going to happen again. And like
fucking that's getting a bit emotional, mate.
No, but if when you
No,
deep
it's
that
true.
you're like, oh shit, like
It snaps you back into gear.
like what are you going to do with your life? Like fair enough, and I'm not saying oh you have to do all these great things, but like what do you actually want to do? Because before you know it, like you might not be able to do all the things you wanted to do, or you might have, you know, you might get older, you might have injuries, you might get an illness, you might not, you know, you might not be as mobile. And at the end of the day, like you have to go to bed with you, like you have to live with that. And like there's there's so much more we could be doing. Like what even is the end of potential? Like what, that's not even a thing. Like how much more could you do? Like rather than being like, oh, I didn't do that, or I should have done this, just like focus on all the things you could do. Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Also, I forgot to say something before, but I'll come back to it. But just remind me because I'll forget.
You might as well just say it now.
Yeah.
You might as well just say it now. You might as well.
No, because I was going to do that thing. Basically, I always do this thing when I think of something and then I interrupt him and he's like burning inside. But anyways.
Just say it.
Back to what we were first talking about. I remembered from the other podcasts when Khalifa was like, oh, saying about how like sex sells. And I was just thinking, like, sometimes I have this thought as a female, sometimes I don't, but I know that loads of females do. Where it's like, because like sex sells, and you know, like females, they want to feel like attractive to the opposite sex, but then, and like for a lot of females, like that's what it is. It's like driven into like your core as a female. Like you don't, you know, and even males as well. Like no one wants to be like fucking alone just by themselves their whole life. But or maybe you do, but you won't for that long. But I just feel like even though like women are like put down for like being fake or like plastic surgery and all of this stuff, like so many guys would still sleep with that same woman who's had all of that stuff like done to her. And it's like, I feel like females can sometimes feel like looked down upon for doing it, but then also looked down upon for not being super attractive or not being. So I just wanted to say that like maybe to get a bit more of an understanding, as like, because both of you are obviously guys, like I think it's really difficult because it's something that a female's always conscious of, but it's like whatever she does is like looked down upon. Because I feel like especially if a female like starts to glow up or like look after herself, or even like wearing makeup or doing all of this stuff, like loads of people like look down upon that, but then people also want females to look really good as well. So it's just kind of like, yeah, they're like two opposing, like contradicting things that I think is difficult for females.
Go back to the
Anyways.
other point as well about people that want to put themselves out there on social media, but for whatever reason have sort of limiting beliefs holding them back from doing it. I sort of second what you say. I think you just fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what I always say, your purpose has to be the thing that drives you forward. Do you get what I'm saying? And if you're sort of stopped by some sort of limiting belief or tiny little fear of what other people think of you and things like that, I think to myself, how big is your purpose? Do you know what I mean? Like, how big do you want to be? If you're going to let these small people that don't even give a shit about you, you don't really give a shit about them either, but it's just sort of an excuse stopping you from doing what you want to do, your purpose probably isn't big enough. So what I would say, my word of advice on that subject, go back, sort of reanalyze your purpose, and then see if that makes a difference. See if you could push forward until you start getting the goosebumps. You start feeling really inspired to do something, because then you just fucking break through anything. You break through a brick wall if you have the right intentions and the right purpose. So I'd say go back, sort of reassess your purpose, realign yourself with what you really want to do. Then you shouldn't have any limiting beliefs. I mean, you should be able to drive forwards and things like that.
Yeah, it's like how bad do you want it? Like,
exactly.
Like when you actually do want something, you'll do it.
On this sort of topic.
So also as well, I was going to add, just adding on to that, especially if you're like feeling some type of way or worried about whether like close friends or family, like if you're going to post and you're worried about what they may feel, you feel like they may not support you. Like you gotta really ask yourself, are they really down for you anyway, right? If you're really worried, especially if it's someone like real close to you, like your best friend, or you know what I mean, like brother, sister, mum, dad, uncle, auntie. If you're like, oh, if I post this, like they may not really like it, or they may think it's a bad thing, then you really gotta ask yourself some really deep question, and are they really down for you anyway? Or because you really shouldn't be feeling like that about people that are closest to you. The people closest to you should be, well, they should be
supporting
the main people that are really supporting, you know. But and if they're not, then you really just gotta, for lack of a better word, like cut them out.
Do you know what? Yeah, I think a lot of people have bullshit friends in this fucking world. You know, real talk. That's one thing that I think
surprise.
fucks a lot of people over, man. Like their friendship groups and shit like that. Like. Oh man, like people actually believe, like I don't know, like all these people that have like 10, 15, 20 friends. Oh, I'm close with her, or he's my guy, you know. Yeah, we went to school together. Bro, are you really cool with that guy? Is he really riding for you? Is she really down for you as well? Do you know what I mean? If she's chatting shit behind your back.
Fair, like I will say though, and fair enough, this might be like me just being like naive, but I agree with what both of you are saying, but still, when I find things like that happening in my life, I still get a bit like, oh, like I'm a bit, you know, like.
What do you mean? What things?
In, like what you're saying about all these people that have like I don't know, like for me, if I consider someone my friend, or if I know them, like I take it quite genuinely, and I'm like, oh, this person, like I think that's just like my personality, but like I'll believe of like what, like I believe people are like what they say they are like, and then when they're not like that, I'm like, oh. So I think,
I mean, you'll know them by their actions, right?
Yeah, but I think it's, you know, people, like, it's difficult because, like, how do you really know someone? Like, how can you like fully judge that?
No, but if you are, I feel that if you, like, your first thought or your first reaction, okay, I'm gonna post this picture. What's this person going to say? Maybe this person's going to say this. Like, if that is your immediate first initial reaction before you press the post button about a certain person or a certain group of people, and you know, you really got to address that, you know, and be like, well, like, why do I feel this way about these people? I know that in the grand scheme of things it doesn't really matter, but for some people it really does matter, you know. You know, like if their family, if they really want to do something, and like their family is saying, so you want to be, I don't know, a PT, right? But your family's got really strong issues about you showing your body. How are you going to feel about posting that picture, you know?
And as well, I feel like
it's tough.
It is super tough, because I feel like that sort of like feeling of like wanting to be accepted into a group, like that's like drilled into like our DNA as well. Like that's like from caveman days. Like no one wanted to be like everyone wants to be accepted to a group, because that's just like how life, like how people are. So if it's like you're already in one group and you start doing something and then the people in your group don't accept it, like that's a difficult like position to be in. Or even I feel like people want to be accepted and validated too much. And then that's why I feel like this whole sort of social media plays on that even more, because you can be, everyone's judging you, and it's like even the thing about like, okay, imagine we're in like the caveman days, and instead of like, I don't know, someone giving you food in the tribe, you get like a like or a follow on Instagram. It's like the same thing, like you're being accepted and validated. So that's why I feel like people, it's a very, what's the word? Yeah,
so like if you post a pic
Like people expect, like they're wanting like that
you get-
validation.
and
The
you get
fucking
to-
them
and you get
neurons
to-
go off in your skull, mate.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it can be, yeah.
Well, like you post a picture, you get like 1 like.
Yeah, you feel disowned, boy.
Everyone, that's what
But it's your
everyone
worth
deep down
put.
is
But yeah, like, and it could be the case of obviously like you're putting your actual self-worth to the amount of likes that you're getting,
Yeah.
and that's
But then
and
that's,
that's tough to
a
deal
whole
with as
other
well.
thing, because then it's
That's
like,
tough.
okay, cool. You need to have self-worth and value yourself first before anyone can like properly value you.
I want to move on, yeah, and talk about friends, yeah, and friendship.
I was actually on a really good roll.
Mate, you want to fucking...
Wait. Carry on what you was actually saying.
Isn't it was a mad point? Like,
It was,
you know,
yeah.
see, I'm even looking for validation there. It's fucking drilled into our DNA.
No, you're just... It's acknowledgement.
Yeah, okay, that was a bit of a joke as well. Like, I'm just
You know what, yeah, you ain't never coming on this podcast again,
comedy
man.
gold.
You ain't never coming on this goddamn podcast again. Your ass gonna get sent back away. Go.
Wait, let me try and remember. 'Cause I remember it was a really good one.
God.
Yeah, basically what I was saying was how this whole thing about like having self-validation and self-value first, well, that's what you should have. But then when you're putting yourself out there on a social media platform and you're spreading your value, it's like you have to be ready, because it's like you're putting yourself in a situation where it's like you're saying, like, okay, judge me, like validate me or don't validate me. You're like exposing yourself, and you just have to. I'm just saying that it's a difficult position to be in because humans want to be accepted into a group, and that's something that's like from like years back. So bearing that in mind, bearing that all of us have that within ourselves, then putting yourself in a situation where it's like you're asking to not be validated or to be validated, you have to really regulate that well and be aware of that happening. Because if you're not aware of that, you can just be like lost and just crushed in that.
It can eat you up.
Yeah, basically.
Final point. I like to wrap it up. It's getting on a little bit. If you could go back, 5 years, and do one thing differently. No, we'll say 2 things differently. What would you do? What would you do differently?
I think you asked me that before. For me, if I could do something differently from 5 years, definitely to stay out of debt.
I knew you were going to say that. Wait, I think it's because you just told me that.
Yeah, I think I've said that before. Definitely stay out of debt. You know, because it's a killer. It is, you know.
Oh man.
It was a killer, and getting out was no easy task, but you know. And second thing, boy, I don't think I could say one thing. I'm going to group it, but I would like to just say learn more skills. Whichever ones that they would be, I can't really pinpoint it, but I would just like to learn more skills. And I think learning more skills is something that, I mean, this year, of course, every year on, it's something that I want to be able to just carry on doing and just keep on learning until the last day, right?
The urban renaissance man.
Yeah, really.
What do you think? 2 skills.
I have no regrets. No, okay. If I had to think of 2 things, wait, I need some thinking time. You're gonna have to go first. I'm
Alright,
afraid.
cool. What would I do differently? I would save, you know. That's one thing I'll fucking do.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been a good one.
As like, I don't know, the family that I was brought up in, wired my money blueprint. Everybody's money blueprint. If you don't know what a money blueprint is, it's basically the way you sort of deal with money, act around money, your thoughts surrounding money as well. And in your early years, that's sort of, it's very determined by the way you're brought up, how your parents spoke about money, what you've seen being done with money and things like that. So from a young age, my money blueprint wasn't necessarily always focused on saving and things like that. That doesn't mean my mum was a shit parent. I love my mum. She's done a very, very good job with me. But however, when it comes to the money game, she didn't have a pattern too strong still. So obviously I've had to sort of educate myself. And she's done an amazing job, to be fair, herself when it comes to money and things like that in recent times, but I've had to educate myself and learn about money and things like that, and saving was something that was never part of my DNA previously. And now think about sort of getting out of the 9 to 5, the rat race, whatever you want to call it. It's like a fucking rocket taking off into earth. The amount of thrust you need to leave, the 9 to 5 is ridiculous, And one of the things that gives you the thrust definitely is having that liquidity, that cushion of cash available to do or to invest in things that can get you out of the game. Do you know what I mean? So that's definitely one thing I would do. Even if I saved 50% of my income when I was earning £400 a month in my first job or whatever, do you know what I mean? Till now, I'd have a shitload of money that I could use to invest and sort of help get out of the rat race to 9 to 5, which I think is key. Another thing I would do, I would fucking really pay attention to personal branding and things like that. Because knowing and seeing where the fucking internet age has taken us, it's all about your personal branding nowadays. Do you know what I mean? And to the degree that you brand yourself and to the degree that you do well on social platforms and things like that, in today's world, that equals dollars. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all driven on social media nowadays. So I would have learned a lot more about that, and I would have invested a lot of time into that and energy to learn how to get better and more proficient at that. Saying that leads me on to something else. This is a good exercise for everybody who's watching to do at home as well. Ask yourself the same question. What would you do? Or what would you do differently if you could go back 5 years? Because what you'll tend to find is that what you say is exactly what you should be doing today. So today I should be saving. Today I should be investing in personal branding, which is something I'm doing now. So I'd say definitely ask yourself that question. See what you come up with. Let me know your answers below, and it'll be interesting to hear what some people come up with. What do you think? Have you got your two?
Yeah, so the thing is, it's one of those things where like I'll literally think of my two like in 2 weeks time, like when I'm sleeping. But the ones that I've thought of now is I wish I could tell myself to like listen to what's the word, like inspiring stuff. When I don't mean like, is the word inspiring? I don't really know. What I mean is basically, well, one, I would listen to things or surround myself with things that inspire me and motivate me. So like now, for example, every morning or at some point during the day, I'll always be listening to like a video on something to do with the mind or communication or branding or social media, like something that's basically like self-education, that's gonna like where I'm getting more knowledge. And
so
like
you invest in yourself a lot more, pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing was gonna be just like self-education in terms of like learning about your own mind, dealing with your emotions, dealing with your relationships, your communications with other people, because that can like, you know, really like affect your life and affect your mood. But sort of branching off from that is just actually listening to things that are going to make you feel good. Like there was, my colleague at work was telling me about, there was this oh, there's a fox. There was this science I've lost my train of thought. It was a science experiment. They basically, I think I told you about it, the cells one. They basically got different cells and they put in one of the cells, they exposed it to like music that was really like, and when I say positive, I don't mean like, oh, be like super cliched positive. I just mean like it was exposed to sort of things about like loving and caring and like positive like songs and good stuff like that. And then another cell was exposed to like really negative words and like words that put you down and like, yeah, just sort of along those kind of lines. And then one cell was just left by itself and normal. And it actually, the cell that was exposed to a lot of like negative stuff and like just not nice things that you'd want to hear, like didn't develop as well. I don't know if that wasn't exactly what happened. I don't like know the ins and outs of it, but basically that was sort of like, in a nutshell, what happened in the experiment. But I just really think that people don't realise that what you hear really affects what you do. As in, if you're around people, and fair enough, you might not always be able to control it. If you're around people that are always like complaining or putting you down or just talking badly about themselves, then okay, be proactive about that. And there's so much stuff on YouTube, literally, that's free. Like, just even like 5 minutes, just hearing something of someone who inspires you or has like knowledge that you'd want, it sets the tone for the day and it sets your focus for the day.
So what you would, that's one thing you would do.
Yeah, well, one is just a self-development in terms of just like learning about like, yeah, like self-education about your mind, emotions and stuff like that. But
so you'd invest more time in yourself. That'd be number one.
Yeah,
I'm just conscious we've got to wrap this up. We can't even see
Okay,
Eli in the back anymore.
But yeah, I literally talk forever, that's why. But the second one is just, yeah, just listen to things that that you like to listen to, that's going to inspire you. Not negative shit.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining the podcast. Mr. Williams, thank you again. I'm sure we'll see you both again at some point in the future. Keep it locked. I've got another episode coming very, very soon. You know how we do.
Excited.
Keep it popping. Respect my cripping, yeah.